Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word into a video all about Max Verstappen, my opinions on him, how I feel about him, and also just what I think he could achieve in his F1 career and how soon he could claim a first world title. It feels like we've been talking about Max Verstappen for an eternity, but the truth is, when you look at it, he's actually only been in Formula 1 for 3 full seasons. And he didn't make his full, let's say, competitive motor racing debut until 2014. And despite all of that, we're already talking about him as potentially one of the greats, a guy that could become a multiple world champion. And there's nothing wrong with that, because even his biggest critics can see what he could potentially achieve in Formula 1 and the talent he undoubtedly has. But what gets me is just how much he divides the F1 community, among fans in particular. A lot of people will say he's an absolute great, he's fantastic, his driving's phenomenal, and then others will just criticise him as a hothead who makes way too many mistakes and is far too aggressive. Some even say he's dangerous. The thing is though, we all talk about how we want racing drivers to be ballsy, to be gutsy, to go for that gap, to go for that overtake, to be aggressive, to race hard. And then when they do, not just Max Verstappen, they're criticised for it. And although I get that being hot-headed is going to cause problems, and I can understand why people criticise that, surely that's almost a trait that a great F1 driver or potentially a great F1 driver needs. Lewis Hamilton was a hothead initially. Michael Schumacher had a hot-headed side, as we well know. Ayrton Senna was criticised as a hothead. Sebastian Vettel this year, despite his experience, has been criticised as a hothead. These are all massively successful multiple world champions. And although Max Verstappen isn't a world champion yet, there's no doubt in my mind that if he continues the way he is and continues to develop and learn the way he has been, he absolutely will be a multiple Formula 1 world champion. And yeah, we've said that about a lot of young drivers that have come into Formula 1 that have then not gone on to reach that potential. But I, for one, would say Verstappen's very different to that. His no fear attitude, his ability to race that car hard, to go wheel to wheel with the best, even his touch on the brake pedal, which of course even his teammate has, is just so refreshing to see. And yes, he has that hot-headed side, and yes, he makes mistakes, but the fact of the matter is, he's 20 years old and will continue to grow. He is nowhere near his peak yet. So if this is what he's doing at 20, once he's refined all that, once he's learned how to handle that hot-headedness and absolutely reached his peak, he's going to be phenomenal within the sport. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever. The problem for him is, how soon can he realistically win a world championship? I would love to see him and Daniel Ricciardo go for it in 2018 and really challenge Mercedes and Ferrari. And Red Bull will give them a chassis and will give them the aero and the car to do that. The problem is Renault. At present, they have the third best engine of a 4-manufacturer grid. So for me, they are relying on Renault turning up with a decent package in 2018 to give their drivers any chance of competing for the world title. And as we saw at the back end of 2017, Red Bull can compete, Max Verstappen can compete, Daniel Ricciardo can compete, but without that power on tracks where that's going to be very important, they're going to struggle, and that will be costly for them next season. So as much as I'd love to see them go for it in 2018 and do it, I don't think they will. I still think Ferrari and Mercedes will be the teams to beat. Yes, Renault will take a step forward, but so will Ferrari and so will Mercedes. The problem for them comes at the end of 2018 when apparently Renault are going to ditch them and leave Red Bull with possibly a Honda engine for 2019. And however many steps forward Honda make this year, and going into 2018 and 2019, they are going to be nowhere near the front of the grid. So right now, looking at it, the most realistic target for Max Verstappen in terms of a world title is 2021. And although that would be great for him to get that world title, it'll be such a shame if it takes that long to get him fighting for that world championship. They will fight for podiums in 2018. They will absolutely win races in 2018. But it's only going to be at tracks where the aero is most important and where Mercedes and Ferrari trip over each other. And with a resurgent McLaren and therefore a resurgent Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, not just Max Verstappen, but Daniel Ricciardo as well, are going to have even more of a fight on their hands. Now, it could be his last year, having Daniel Ricciardo as a teammate, Ricciardo out of contract at the end of 2018, of course. So from 2019 onwards, he could be undisputed number one in the Red Bull team. And if that's the case, and they do get a half-decent engine, whether it be Renault or Honda, surprise us all, with a full team behind him, that could make a big difference. But I still think realistically, we'd be looking at 2021, which, like I say, it is a shame that it wouldn't be sooner. But even if it is 2021, he's still only going to be 24 years old, but with 7 years experience in Formula 1. And one question we get asked a lot during live streams in the chat is, could he beat Schumacher's record of 7 world titles? Will he be as good as or better than Lewis Hamilton? And the answer I always give to that, and will always have to give to that, is he's got the potential to do so. Like I say, 2021, 24 years old, 7 years in the sport. He's still potentially got another decade after that in Formula One. Probably more. You'd be looking at maybe another 14 years, possibly more, in the sport after 2021. There's plenty of time for him to do it. But it doesn't matter how good he is as a driver. He also needs a car capable of fighting for a world championship, or at least a power unit that is going to push that car to fight for a world title. As we've seen with Williams of late, terrible aero, not a great chassis at all, but that Mercedes engine is dragging that car around. Red Bull are the bang opposite. Amazing chassis, fantastic aero, second worst engine on the grid, which is why Mercedes and Ferrari will not give Red Bull an engine unless they're absolutely forced to. Because, and I'm going to stick my neck on the line here, if you put him in a Mercedes alongside Lewis Hamilton or a Ferrari alongside Sebastian Vettel, he would be at least and equal to them in terms of pace, in terms of aggression, in terms of fighting for a world championship. That is why teams like Mercedes and Ferrari are so desperate to keep him on their radar, and why Red Bull are fighting hard to keep hold of him. But however good he is on track right now, and no matter how much we praise him for his ability, he still has a hell of a lot to learn. But I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he will learn. You only have to look at the Max Verstappen of 2015 and compare him to the Max Verstappen of 2017 to see that he's already learning and he's already refining that racecraft. And 2018 will be yet another step forward for Max Verstappen. But of course, they are just my opinions. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think he could be one of the greatest, or do you think he is massively overhyped? I will be back soon with more content as ever. But in the meantime, if you want to follow me on social media, guys, links to Facebook, Twitter, and Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.